Hey everyone, what's up? Welcome to my Monday Night Raw review for the post-WrestleMania edition of Raw. And to say last night's Raw, according to people like the Off the Ropes show, the British Fist, and probably anybody else that's reviewed it, last night's Raw was very hot, if you will. In other words, it was kind of nostalgic in a way because it had an attitude era feel to it. That's right, an attitude era feel to it. In other words, to quote what Jeff Schlegel, aka the Sleg Daddy, said on the Off the Rope show, it felt like a very attitude era like crowd. I mean, they were just hot from the standpoint and all the way through. Of course, we began the night sort of, when I look at it, sort of similar, almost a remake of some sorts of 13 years earlier. A little over 13 years, or almost 13 years, about 12 and a half years earlier. Because the opening was very similar to when the McMahon-Helmsley era began. Basically what you had was John Laurinaitis coming out and telling people it was the dawn of a brand new day, and that it was basically all about, it was going to be basically, and basically John Laurinaitis comes out and says he's not going to abuse power, and it's going to be about the people. So yeah, John Laurinaitis basically said this whole new situation is going to be about people power. Now, when you read into that, I mean, obviously being a smart mark, you read into that and you realize he doesn't necessarily mean the WWE Universe. He means his people, the people that associate with him. I mean, for example, he put Santino in a triple threat match for the U.S. title against Ziggler and Swagger. And then he put Punk in a title match against Mark Henry. Now, you say to yourself, well, that doesn't seem too bad. Well, when you think about it, these are 3 of the 6 guys that were on his winning team. So when you think about 3 of the 6 guys that were on his winning team, you would probably say, yeah, it doesn't seem, you know, you might think it's not so bad, but again, it's 3 of the guys that were on his winning team, so you'll think, oh, they're showing favoritism. Well, anyway, the reason this came about was Santino was, of course, the captain of Teddy's team, and CM Punk, of course, has had his problems with Laurinaitis, which goes to tell me, and I'll explain this later on that this whole Laurinaitis Punk thing is a remake of Austin McMahon. Basically what happened with Punk is he got put into the title match because he said on behalf of the universe, and behalf of most of the people in the locker room, the baby faces, Laurinaitis is nothing but a giant toolbox. In other words, what he's acknowledging is Laurinaitis is just doing the dirty work of the corporate office of the WWE, in other words, the McMahon family. So that kind of tells me as a fan, by saying he's a giant toolbox, in other words, acknowledging that he's doing the dirty work of the McMahons, more importantly maybe Vince and Stephanie. Now I've got a feeling we're going to see the McMahons returning real soon. When and where, we don't know, but it's going to be within this year. You know that. You can't go a year without a McMahon making an appearance and being involved somehow. Anyway, after that, we get The Rock's opening promo. He opens up the show and graciously, according to PWI Torch, graciously thanks John Cena for the match that they had, because it wasn't about them. It was about the fans. The fans wanted it, they delivered. He graciously acknowledged that Cena basically brought it to him like never before, basically gave him the fight of his life, gave him the match of his life. Right? And basically said, by doing this overall, he said basically this situation with Cena is done with now, and there's nothing but respect. There's no hatred, nothing but there's respect. There's a lot of respect now. And when you think about it, when you hear it coming out of The Rock like that, he's basically acknowledging, yeah, Cena, you fought me for what you believed in, and now it's over. We both proved our point. Even in defeat, you proved your point, kind of deal. So basically, Rock also kind of ends it by saying that he's going to make a vow to one day come back to WWE, probably within the year, maybe next year, who knows, and become WWE champion again. And that is what got a lot of people on their feet. And that's what fans have been wanting to hear. They've been wanting to hear Rock say, I'm going to come back, be champion again. And that, again, is what fans have been wanting to hear. They have not been wanting to hear Rock say, well, I got, this and that. And what's funny is a lot of people have said this is the Rock they've been wanting to see, even going towards Mania. So we'll see what happens, but with Rock acknowledging that he wants to be champion again, it kind of pans out, kind of plays an open speculation for the rest of the year as to when and where that might happen. Now, if Rock is scheduled, in my opinion, I have a feeling what might happen, because if Rock is scheduled to appear, maybe compete at Mania 29, that kind of tells you that he might be competing for the title there. But who knows? But anyways, a great opening promo, and then we led into that, no commercial, led right into the start of the U.S. title match. Santino against Ziggler and Swagger. And most of the part, you could definitely tell that Lawler, who is the babyface of the announce team, kind of acknowledged that it looked more like a handicap match at first, and it was. Basically felt like a handicap match. Until I think Ziggler tried to go for the cover, and that's when it finally deteriorated into a triple threat and kind of showed dissension between Swagger and Ziggler. That's my bad. They should call the tag team the Swiggles. Or the Swaggles. Whatever. But anyway, it showed some dissension there. Like it was finally every man for themselves. But CM Punk does win the match, retain his title. And as he's trying to distract them by pointing up to the air saying, hey, what the hell is that? He runs up or power walks his way up the ramp. Basically, as he's power walking his way up the ramp, they're trying to follow after him, and he gets saved by Brodus Clay, who headbutts Ziggler. Ziggler tries to charge Brodus, and he gets headbutt straight up into right up back. Oh man, that headbutt looks sick, if you know what I mean. But, oh man. So basically, now it looks like Santino and Brodus are a tag team, and it looks like Brodus is going to be put into a feud with Ziggler and Swagger. And to me, it's about time he had something meaningful, because all the squash matches getting him ready, this is obviously going to get him ready, because now, I've always said to myself, you got to get the Funkettes, if you will, as the dancers, like Cameron and Naomi involved somehow, besides just dancing with Brodus, and more importantly, Naomi. And my thought is, you got to get them involved somehow, and who better to get the girls involved with than Vicky? So anyway, after that we get Lord Tensai's debut, or re-debut, if you will, and he basically squashes Alex Riley, which, if you ask the Off the Rope show, they're not too happy about. But it kind of shows that it's a bit of like what they did with Brodus, but it's a little bit more vicious. So it definitely looks like they're getting behind Lord Tensai A-Train, if you will, and Tenzu, who now is like a worshiper of his or something like that. Sakamoto is his name is. So yeah, they showed him strong. Then what? Well, let's take a look at the matches first. We know that later on in the night we had Cody against Kofi. Kofi won thanks to distraction by Big Show to Cody. Big Show basically giving Cody a taste of his own medicine. we had Zack Ryder lose to The Miz, basically continuing The Miz's rebuilding of his momentum. We had CM Punk lose via countout to Mark Henry, but retain his title, and then came a controversial situation with Jericho, who basically dumped a lot of, I think, Jack Daniels, some kind of like brandy all over him, and or whatever it was, some kind of alcohol brandy, and then basically broke a bottle of Jack Daniels over the back of CM Punk's head. So, and he basically did this by mockingly saying, "Hey, let's celebrate our great match, and you'll win last night." In other words, it kind of tells you he's not too happy about the fact that he lost the way he did. So that happened throughout the night. And in some of the more newsworthy situations, we had Alberto Del Rio return and basically acknowledge Sheamus, who was about to kind of talk about his victory at Mania, his quick victory. But basically he told Sheamus, "Hey, you're going to face me on SmackDown, thanks to John Laurinaitis granting me the match. And then if I win, I face you for world title." And then of course they had a backstage interview with Daniel Bryan. Well, Daniel Bryan didn't say anything. You just had this look of he was just pissed, you know. And to calm down the YWC or the IWC, according to PWI Torch, there's nothing. WWE is not punishing Bryan or anything. It's just they wanted to do something no one expected, because we all expected a solid match, and instead we got a squash, which you didn't expect. Then of course we had John Cena come out at the end of the night. Speculation throughout the night was he's not there, and according to what they said on television, he had just arrived, and so far he's still silent on Twitter. But basically he came out and, just like The Rock, graciously acknowledged the match and what they did, and then did graciously admit defeat and say Rock was the greatest superstar of all time, and he proved it. And then as he wants to call out The Rock, instead of getting Rock, to graciously shake his hand and acknowledge him as the greatest star ever, instead of getting Rock, he got Brock. That's right, Brock Lesnar returned last night to Monday Night Raw to WWE. According to the reports, he signed a 1-year contract with the company, and basically he returned with a very impactful return by F5ing John Cena. Now, does this set up a match for Cena and Brock, maybe at Extreme Rules or down the line? Possibly. So that was pretty cool. That's what it seems to be doing there. Overall, last night's Raw was a very attitude-like Raw, had an attitude-like atmosphere. The crowd was really into it from beginning to end. They got to say what they wanted to say, and it makes you. They got to say what they wanted to say, and most of the time, Daniel Bryan was very over with the crowd, with the yes, 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 and even though he wasn't physically there except on screen and in a dark match, so that was kind of cool. I mean, Sheamus, who's supposed to be a top babyface, got booed. I mean, very hot, very attitude-like crowd, and I think WWE's got a lot to learn from this. Maybe next year they'll try to make sure no other wrestling promotion, independent or major independent or not, is not in the same facility or doesn't have anything booked around that same time frame. So that's all I'm going to say. That's my Raw review, and I'll talk to you all later.